The final element of music we will study is harmony, defined here as two or more notes sounding simultaneously. To whet your appetite for the study of harmony, watch this classic clip from The Music Man to hear four gentlemen singing in harmony about ice cream. The key note, or home note, is the note that makes us feel that the song has come home. For example, the phrases of Happy Birthday go like this. Happy birthday to you. That last note just does not seem at home. Happy birthday to you. That note seems at home, but the song isn't ended. Happy birthday, dear Ludwig. There's another note that's not quite home, but how about this? Happy birthday to you. Now we are home. Harmony is dependent on musical keys. I do not mean here the keys on a piano, although there is a connection. Earlier, we learned the musical scale is made up of 7 notes, A through G. But there are more than 7 major scales because a scale can also start on a black note. So there is a C scale and also a C sharp scale. There are actually 12 possible keynotes or home notes. Think back to the song from The Sound of Music. Do, a deer, and so on. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That was a major scale. Major scales and major keys have a happy feel to them. If you want to feel happy, you will probably listen to music written in a major key. Minor scales and minor keys sound sad, ominous, foreboding. Perhaps the most famous song written in a minor key is the Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach. Listen to it played by the late great American organist E. Power Biggs, pictured here. When we talk of harmony, we must talk about chords. The 3 notes pictured here make up a chord, in this case a C major chord. The bottom note is C, the middle is E, the top G. Think of our ice cream quartet. The first man sang the C, ice cream, the second the E, ice cream, the third the G, ice cream, and then the fourth sang another C, 8 notes higher than the first C, ice cream. The notes of a chord can also be rearranged like a child playing with blocks. 3 blocks can be arranged in 3 different ways. This chord can also be spelled C-E-G or E-G-C or G-C-E. We won't get into open spellings like C-G-E. In any case, a chord produces harmony. If we were to play the chord on the previous slide on the piano, all 3 notes would sound at the same time like this. Another way to play a chord is to arpeggiate or roll the chord so that each note is played slightly after the previous one. It would sound like this. Written down in musical notation, an arpeggio would look like this. The famous Prelude in C major by Bach is built on arpeggiated chords. As you listen to it, note that each segment is made up of a different chord played as an arpeggio. This gives the piece a much different feel than if all the chords were played as block chords, all notes together. The Bach Prelude contained many different chords. When one chord moves to another, it is called a chord progression or a change. In folk and country music, many songs only contain 3 or 4 chords. Camptown Racetrack that we listened to earlier, for example, only uses 3 chords. Because in country and folk music the words are more important than the harmony. Listen to the classic country hit Blue Eyes Cryin' in the Rain. See if you can hear the chord changes. There are only 3 chords, in the whole song. Cadences in music are like punctuation in grammar. A full cadence is like a period. We know that the phrase has ended. Most popular songs end with a full cadence. A plagal cadence is less final. It is often called the amen cadence because of its use on amens at the ends of hymns. A half cadence does not end on the home chord. It's like an ellipsis, indicating that something else may be coming. Another element of harmony is texture. You have already listened to monophonic music, O Death by Ralph Stanley and the Church Chant, both unaccompanied melodies. That is the first texture, monophony, one sound. The next texture is homophony or song texture. I think of these as actually two different styles of the same texture. The first, homophony, is produced by many people singing the same words at the same time, but to different notes to produce harmony or chords. Song texture I think of as a single singer accompanied by a chording instrument like a guitar or a piano. Listen to this homophonic hymn from the movie Cold Mountain. Note how the congregation sings the same words at the same time, but in harmony. Now listen to song-style homophony. The troubadour James Taylor sings the melody and plays accompanying chords on the guitar. The guitar, as we will learn, is an important instrument in music therapy. The last texture to consider is polyphony, a Greek word, poly meaning many and phony meaning sounds. In polyphony, different voices or instruments play their own melodies, yet the skill of the composer melds all these different melodic strands into a harmonic unity. The simplest form of polyphony is a round, like Three Blind Mice or Are You Sleeping? Listen to this rendition of Three Blind Mice and note how the same melody is sung at different times to produce polyphonic harmony. Sicut cervus is the first phrase of Psalm 42 from the Bible. As a deer longs for springs of water, so my soul longs for you, O Lord. This polyphonic composition by Palestrina has been called the pinnacle of polyphonic composition for voices. Even if we can't understand all the words, we admit that there is a beauty to this style of music matched by no other. If you were to analyze the chords in this piece, you would find that it is not as complicated as it might sound. Listen 3 times like before. First, for an overall impression. Second, to pick out some elements of music. And third, to tell how the song affects you. While not an element of music per se, I need to talk about timbre. Timbre is the word musicians use to talk about quality of sound. Timbre is what makes your voice sound different from your siblings' voices. It is what makes a violin sound different than a trumpet. It is what makes Johnny Cash sound different from Willie Nelson, even if they are singing the same song in the same key, at the same tempo, and at the same dynamic level. It is what makes an expensive instrument sound different from an inexpensive one. Listen to both videos of Ravel's Bolero and notice how Ravel changes the timbre of the song by changing the instrumentation. The song is really built on a relatively short phrase repeated with different timbres. This word will become important as we talk later about tone of voice in music as a therapy.